Stanford University.
Hello, I'm Bill Verplank, not your usual moderator. Stephen Dow will be back next week. If you're taking this class for credit, I've been told you must sign the sheet as it goes around. So you all know how that works. The sheet is just taken off. We'll continue circulating it so you don't have to have a big lineup at the end of class. Keep the list circulating. And I'm not going to tell you to move out of the last rows. I think you're close enough. Usually that's one of Stephen's comments here. Before we get into today's speaker, next week the speaker is Tycho Balagas, who's a senior research scientist at Nokia Research Center. And I think he's here in Palo Alto, actually. And he's talking about supporting distant family communication with an interactive book, which I think I've seen. It's pretty interesting. You can read with your grandchildren through this interactive book. This week, our speaker is Monica Lam. I think of this quarter, she's the only one from Stanford, the only Stanford professor. She's in computer science, actually not far from the HCI group on the third floor. And she's been here, can I tell them? Yeah, 22 years as a professor, which is, I told her, well, you look like you might be 22 years old.
Oh, thank you.
Came when she was quite young.
I started at year 0.
And she's moved, I think, quite gracefully from being a systems person, or is that what you call it? A hardware, understanding hardware. She helped found a company called, what's it called? Tensilica, a company that specializes in configurable processor cores. And in 2005, she co-founded a firm called Mocha 5, I presume with your students, right? To commercialize their desktop virtualization. And now she's moving into, I guess what some people call social media, but she has a very interesting take on it. The title she first gave us was Open Mobile and Social Computing, but now she's calling it Open and Federated In Situ Social Networking. So she'll have to explain what federated and in situ mean. And I'll turn the mic off.
All right, thank you. So we have an hour, 15 minutes, so we have a lot of time. So please interrupt me, ask me questions. Let's make it interactive, okay?
Shall I stop you before we have 10 minutes at the end for questions?
It depends on how it goes. If there are enough questions, then we would just run to the end.
It's okay to ask questions during the talk.
Yes. So this piece of work is a part of a bigger project. It's called the NSF Programmable Open Mobile Internet, PAMI 2020 Expedition. It's an expedition. It is a 5-year, $10 million research project from NSF, and it is a Stanford-only project. And the reason why we convinced them to give us this big pot of money is to say that we have to deal with the new generation of computing environment, the programmable open mobile internet, and we need to look at everything from the hardware networks to social networks, everything in between, the systems, security, HCI, and one of our applications that we focus on is education. So we have people from School of Education and Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department. And the part that I'm going to talk about is the program, the mobile and social networking, mobile and social computing part. And the title of this is Open and Federated In Situ Social Networking, and I'm going to explain how this is related to this programmable open mobile internet as we right now. So this is a very exciting time for computer science research because we are seeing the beginning of a very big generation of computers. Every time we go down an order of magnitude in size, we are increasing the number of users by another order of magnitude, and it went from mainframe, mini workstations, PCs, laptops, and now we're down to the phones. And I think that this might be the last generation of symbolic computing because I can't deal with many phones, all right? I just have have to have one. It fits in my pocket. It is with me all the time. And it is a very important round. And the thing about the phones is that there are plenty of phones out there. And there are, there is, so there are more phones, you start. So the interesting thing with Moore's law is that you don't have to do anything. All the dumb phones out there are going to get smart, and people don't even have to pay more. So it means that we are talking now about everybody owning a device, owning their computing device. And this, as we said, might be the last generation. If you look at the PC and the laptop, what it did for us is that it automated the office. So what is the phone going to do? It's going to change our social life. Okay, because it is with us all the time. It is a personal device. And so we're very excited about this topic. And this is the reason why we kind of look at mobile and social together. And the title of this talk is Open and Federated In Situ Social Networking. What on earth is in situ social networking? I think that if you think about social networking being something that you go to a portal and you interact with your friends, well, that's the last generation. Because the next generation, which we call in situ, is that friends are where you do whatever you are doing online. When you browse, when you play music, when you play videos, when you play games, they are there with you. You don't have to go to a website and socialize. Everything you're doing, your friends are in there. And that's what we mean by in situ social networking. Are we doing that today? Well, how?
Facebook is now integrated across single site. There we go.
Thank you. All right. So, and when you think about the old social networking, you go to the Facebook portal and then you sign up and then here are your friends. But no, now Facebook has this Android SDK. That means that I can just bring up a mobile app and I can see my friends, where they check in and so forth. And then they have this Facebook Open Graph. Facebook Open Graph means that every single website there can now be integrated with Facebook. And so as you browse, if you bring up CNN, you can find what your friends are saying. You go to Yelp, you find out what they're saying about the restaurants. And this is part of this in situ social networking. Okay, so your friends are whatever you are doing online. And that's extremely powerful. So, for example, you know that Facebook has this like button, right? Do you know what that like button does? You can tell your friends that you like this or like that, but it also tells Facebook everything. Facebook gives Facebook the knowledge of which IP addresses is browsing what page. Every single web page that has this like button, whether you click the button or not, whether you're a Facebook friend or not, they know about it. Okay, so that's where we are now. Is like social networking means that they have access to all the activities that you are doing. So what is interesting is that the game is really changing. Online advertising today kind of looks like this. You buy online, say Amazon. Amazon knows what you are buying and they suggest you something. There's a lot of money in the suggestion part because they can sell you a lot more products. And now if you say, I rent a movie, they know about your profile. And they collect all these profiles, and then they say, oh, based on your profile, suggest you something. Or if you buy music, if I browse, the search engine obviously collects your search history, and then they use it to help you search. And what does the social networking do for you? The social networking means it's like everything that you do in situ social networking, everything you do, your friends are in there. And because you share with your friends, a couple of interesting things happen. One thing is that when I share with my friends see what I am doing, and I am giving them the recommendations and suggestions. Just because I say, oh, this is a cool site, this is a restaurant, I am now doing social recommendations. Okay, it is adding a whole new dimension to the website, watching what you're doing and making suggestions. Now you are picking a lot of information from your friends. And we read about an article that there's an article about how ABC News is getting a lot more visits because they have integrated with Facebook, because people talk about it, and then And so you're seeing a lot of traffic coming through from the social side, which is by itself a very reasonable thing to do, because for the most part, when I buy something, I usually ask my friends what to buy. I don't go to do a lot of this research myself on the browser. So this is all good. But in the meantime, you are collecting all this information to share with your friends. And using today's architecture, that means that the company that helps you share with the friends know about everything that you do, okay? So they collect all this information, and they generate a lot of, they generate the profiles. They know a lot about all the people out there, and then with that, they have the profiles which allow them to provide a lot of suggestions, and that means that there is a lot of value in that data. And so, for example, a company like Facebook can get a lot of money out of the profiles that they sell to the companies. Okay, so the game is changing. The social networking creates an opportunity for companies supporting social networking to aggregate a lot of data from a lot of people, and there is a lot of value in this. And so this is currently the picture. The red arrows are what the social networking company is doing. They derive a lot of value by offering this free service. And by the way, this is a great free service. We really, there are a lot of benefits to it. But at the same time, that is going on, and then there are people who are worried about privacy, worried about aggregating data. Some company owning a lot of data. So there is a little bit of a tension there. Another thing that is a little bit that's a little bit worrisome is that if you have a single company that owns all this private data, is the only company that allows you to socialize, doesn't mean that now they are an incredible business partner. All right. So I suppose recently, I don't know if you've heard about Ping. This is Apple's attempt of adding social networking to iTunes, and on the day that the product was launched, Facebook was on the slides, but by the time people get the product, it is no longer there. And what was reported was that basically Steve Jobs thinks that the terms were not acceptable, and they don't want to integrate. So what you're seeing here is that if it is owned by a company, then they can dictate the terms. They can ask that you have a popular game, we want 30% of the revenues, and but what can you do? So this is an issue. We are a little bit concerned that if it gets to a point a monopoly owns the graph, then they have incredible power. It's not just the privacy of the issues. You are now no longer getting the competition it takes to have the economy or to have the industry move forward and to benefit the consumers. Okay, so those are the issues that we're dealing with. Now, what do we do? Okay, so we've been thinking about this problem for a couple of years, and here is our high-level architecture that we're going after. He says, yes, we're going to have in-situ social networking. Everything I do, I want my friends there because it makes it so much more fun. I mean, definitely. But what we want to do is that when I share with my friends, I want to share them on an open and federated system, not a single system.
Your real friends, not the friends you have in Facebook.
You can have...
We've lost the word friends.
You can have real friends, you can have fake friends, you may even have anonymous friends, and so, I mean, what I believe truly is that people have different personas, okay? There are only a couple of places that have my social security number, my employer, my bank, okay? And after that, I don't give out the social security number to everybody. I give different kinds of information to different people. I have to have the personas. It has to support multiple personas, all right? But I want an open and federated system. That means that I can choose to park the data with whomever I want, right? And I might be giving it to Google, Microsoft, but I get a choice, and if I have a choice, then if they change the terms on me, I can go somewhere else. Okay, so that's the concept of federation. And given that I'm collecting all this data of all my activities, I don't want to just share it with my friends. I want to share it with myself. All right? I want to know what movies I have been watching, and I might want to look at what, look at my own activities and benefit from that. Yes.
Just as a check on the scope of the information, of the digital information that you're seeing. Do you also include just those transactions through, regular banking transactions?
Regular banking transactions.
Is that in there?
Yes, you should. I mean, there is so much data about myself. People are collecting them. They know what I'm doing. Have you heard of Mint? Mint collects all your banking information. You have to give them the bank accounts and so forth. But I want to do it in such a way that, yes, I get the same functions, but I collect them on my own, and I read the data. I don't need somebody else collecting the data of millions of individuals in the meantime, just because they provide a bit of software for you to hold, to put all this data together and give you a good visualization. Yes?
Do you see this as a natural place to include other types of analytics about oneself, such as the whole quantified life movement? And
yes, everything. So we are completely agreed. There is a lot of data. You want to keep it because you can use it for your own sake. So now I'm sharing it. I can look at all my activities. I create my own profile. Now I can share it with myself and with my friends, and I benefit from that. And the suggestions will still flow between me and my friends. And then I kind of cut out these red arrows right here. All right. They may, depending on who you are parking your data, they may also be generating profiles, but you choose who you park the data with. And of course, when I buy online, they will still have the old data. They know what I'm buying and so forth, but they're not aggregating everything from everybody just because I want to share them with my friends. So this is what we are trying to go after. So how do you approach this, and how do we make progress from towards this overall picture? So we thought about it, and we decided that the strategy that we want to take is to let people build on top of this architecture. So what we want to do is to build an application platform. From the user's point of view, they can interact socially without having to join a proprietary social network. Okay, I can interact with you. You don't have to all sign up to one place before we can do that. And it wants a system to be open and federated. If you just tell people, you can do whatever you could before, but it is just open and federated, would people come? Diaspora, people have heard of Diaspora here. It's a group of students from New York, and they said, I want to build a decentralized version of the Facebook portal, basically. And there are a couple of problems. One is, you are just giving them the same features that is already there, with 500 million people saying that they are okay with that interaction. Why do I have to go to a new server? Okay, people have already voted. It's okay. So you can't really just give them the same features. You cannot start from scratch. You cannot ask them to put up distributed servers because the deployment hassle is impossible. So there are a lot of practical problems. So what we are saying here is, if you want to have something that works, don't just talk about letting them communicate. You have to get them into this in situ social networking. You network as you do fun things together, right? So you have to make sure that the users have fun. And because now we are open federated, it's usually harder to implement. It's not a single centralized system. Now I have to work and make sure that we let the developers, make it easy for the developers to build applications easily. And once they collected that information, the data is very valuable. We mine it, we give the information back to the user, and that will improve their experience like nobody else can, because I can aggregate all the information from banking to all the GPS locations that I have, all the physical locations that I have visited and so forth, all in one place. Yeah.
Just scoping question. Would you also include corporate persons as users?
Repeat the question so everybody can hear.
You can. The question is whether you want to incorporate corporate data or as a member of a corporation and information in there. You could. It's not our emphasis, but you could. We have to support multiple personas, and that was just part of it. So that's the idea. I'm a systems person. I still am. Is like, what I want to do is to create this capability for people to build apps. We built a couple of apps, and the reason why I'm very anxious to be here is to tell more people interested in HCI to build fun apps on top of new capabilities that I want to give to the developers. So what do we do? So that's all high level, motherhood and apple pie. So who's not going to like this? So what are we going to do? I'm going to tell you. We have various projects. I'm going to talk about 3 specific ones. So the first one is that we want to make it more fun. And if I look at all the things that are available, they are more like web activities. We now have a phone. It is with me all the time. I can provide people more fun that's derived from my physical encounters with people. What is more fun than parties? Okay? So one thing we want to do is to build up a platform to allow people to have better social interactions at a party. So that's topic number 1 that we're going to go through. Number 2, we said we want to mine people's data. One very important kind of data is my friends, my social topology. Who are my friends? How are they related? I mean, what are the people that I want to talk to? Because if you look at, for example, Facebook, they allow you to have groups so that you can tell people different things. But the UI is cumbersome, it's difficult. A lot of people find that they don't want to take the time to create the group. Some people do, but a lot of people don't. So what if we mine your data and we figure out what your groups are and we give them back to you, all right? Now you can use this data to help you with all your online activities. So that's the topic number 2. And finally, I'm going to talk about this open and federated system, which we call Mr. Privacy, okay? So number 1, party. So you go to a party. So for example, you go to a wedding. I heard this story. I heard this fact that that parties is one of the top places for people to meet their future spouses. Okay, it makes sense, right? You see a lot of your friends' friends, and it's that same age group, and love is in the air, and all this. Now you go to a party. Well, we are imagining now, we are assuming that everybody has a smartphone on them. I mean, we are talking about research in the future, and it is pretty much true in certain communities already. And when I go to a party, what I would like to do is to be able to share profiles with all the people at the party. Well, this is kind of like a party. I see you here. I should be able to get all your names just because I'm here with you, and I walk out and I have your names. Now, if you don't want to give me your real name, you can go ahead and call yourself Janet or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you say you are on your phone. I can collect this. If you like, you can give me your contact information. I go out, have your contact information. Right? It should be effortless. It shouldn't be the case that when I look at your face and I go on Facebook and check out who you are and find out the profile about you. Okay, that's out of the way. All right, it's not fun. Now, second thing is that I want to take pictures. Everybody wants really pictures of themselves. So you would find people saying, here's my phone, can you take a picture of me? All right. So what if we just say, you guys all take pictures, sometime you take me and I take pictures of you, and then at the end of the party, we all get each other's pictures. And you probably would like to look at your own in detail and so forth, but in the meantime, I get pictures of everybody. That makes sense. A third thing that we found in our user study that people really like is that you go to a party and you want to have music going on. It would be really fun for people to say, please play that song, please play that song. And instead of you going to talk to one guy who's in charge of typing it in, you can now all contribute. I have my phone, I have my favorite YouTube videos. I go there, and what I want to do is to say, take the video that I like, click on it, and it queues up and it plays for everybody. Okay, so this is like just interactions. We have all the capabilities, but that's not what we see today. So what we are doing here, remember, we're trying to create things outside of our current experience. What we notice is that at a party or any gathering, we are creating an ad hoc physical social network. It's ad hoc because the fun part about the party is that I bring a friend along that you have never met, and maybe that's the connection. That's a new friend that you want to make in the future. You don't have an attendees list ahead of time. Okay, I want to be able to go there and create the social network. I pick up a bunch of friends here, and I go to a next party. Now, next party may be connected to people here through me. All right, so I'm not creating physical networks as I go about doing my partying, right? And I want to share with everybody everybody present and nobody else. How would you like to have all this information be gathered together by like Google, and then find out which parties you go to, how late you stay with each party and so forth, and all the photos of you at those parties, every picture. That's not what you want. So we want to have sharing between everybody and present only. Okay. So here's an example of an app that I take, where it's something that people don't have yet, where the sense of privacy is a little bit more, important, and we want to enable a class of apps based on that. So this is what people want to do. So what is the technology side like? Well, there are a whole bunch of computer science issues like device discovery. You have my phone, I have my phone, you have my phone. How am I supposed to find out how to talk to your phone? You don't have a public IP address anyway. I don't, how are we exchanging information? Device discovery. Code deployment. It's like, oh, let's share photos together or YouTube together, but you need to download this piece of software. So I'm going to ask everybody coming to a party, download this piece before you party, right? That doesn't quite work. Now the phones have to communicate with each other. How do phones communicate with each other anyway? Normally you go up to the server and then it comes back down. You join up some application server. But these phones are so powerful. Why are we doing that? So these are the systems problems. So if I have to do it in today's technology, what do we do? It probably means I said, look, I have a party, go sign up to Facebook, you go under the party, and now we exchange all the information of people at the party. It takes you have to do something a priori before you sign up. And at the same time, all this information is monitored. Party to party to party, everybody. So this is what we have today, and we have to do something different. So what we have built is this is Ben Dodson's work and Eamon and a couple and various others. So I think it's best if I just show you how it works, all right? And so what we did is to build a platform to make it very easy for building this kind of apps. So let me just talk through an example of an app to be concrete. So here is the, what does WeTube do? It's pretty obvious, so you can share videos together. So imagine that you are at a house, and what we're saying here is that we are assuming that every set-top box, every device out there has one piece of software pre-installed. It's called the director. It's a little bit like every PC has a browser pre-loaded. Even today, set-top box there's a browser preloaded. And what we want is the one program preloaded, and it's called the activity director. And when I turn on the TV, the activity director shows up and has a QR code. And so when you want to join the party, you take you bring up the phone and you take a picture of that, and that locks you in, and now you are in a party together. Okay? So have you guys used QR codes? It's a pretty simple thing. You just take a picture. It takes 2 seconds. And in the future, we're going to have near-field communication, NFC. That means that he'll say, here is the party table, and you just touch it, and then you are joined into the session. And now you go to your phone, and you bring up your YouTube, and you look up your favorite picture, video, and you click it, you long click it, and this dialog will come up and says, would you like to share WeTube? And you say yes. You click on it, and the video shows up on the screen just like that. All right. So what is going on here is that when I take a picture of the QR code and I am telling the set-top box I want to play the WeTube program, I give it the address. So when you guys all join up, it automatically knows where to download the code. It downloads it onto your phone and launches it, just like what a web browser will do for you for a web page. Okay? So here is just a launcher for you to now have multi-party applications. So We have various games, things built like Texas Hold'em. It's kind of cute. Your phone have cards on them, and you can look at your cards, and everybody looks at the cards, and then there's a common table where it shows the common hands, and this could be on the TV, or it could be an iPad at a coffee table. We find that that works better because we're now sitting face to face. So that's just another example, and you can share profiles and so forth. So what I'm showing you are not they are not that unexpected. But what is interesting is how we build it. Okay, we want to build in such a way that there is no single server watching everything that is going on. So this is today's architecture. If I want to write a multi-party game, like poker, what do? You probably want to host it by a server. So for example, you might want to go to Yahoo Poker and you play a game. So there might be, a poker game is like 8 people or so at most. But all these millions of poker games that are ongoing will sign up to the same website. That means that my website has to be scalable to take care of all the simultaneous, independent interactions. So now you have a server up there, and everybody joins in, and they find each other in a public portal, and the apps and the code is provided at the portal. So what we're doing here, which we call the Junction architecture, is that the applications actually run on the end devices. It could be cross-platform. It could be on the phone and on the desktop and on the PC. Every one of these devices is running a piece of software called the Activity Director, which helps you find the code, launch the code, find you the session, and all that. It's all taken care of, so you don't have to go and ask out of band, where is the table that we are supposed to find you at Yahoo, right? And you saw that we used the QR code to exchange that secret, basically, that identifies the session. One of the biggest problems with the phones is that they cannot talk to each other, no IP addresses. So what we have done is to create this service which we call the switchboard. It's like a rendezvous service. To be concrete, is actually XMPP. And it says all the communication is facilitated by that XMPP. XMPP is the chat service. But what is interesting about this chat service is that it's the same chat service for all the applications. It is application independent. That means that I just have to have one communication node out there, and all the interesting activities happens on the end devices. You can even encrypt the communication so this chat service does not know what is going on. Yeah.
Question, at a scale, who would pay for the costs of switchboard?
Oh, okay. So who hosts the switchboard to begin with? If I host a party at my house, I host it at my house. All right. Why do I need anybody? I have Wi-Fi, by the way. And it would be so much faster. My set-top box just have a little XMPP server. And you can bring your game, by the way, and you just say, when I show you the QR code for my set-top box, you know where the switchboard service you can use. Okay. Yes?
So what you're saying for scaling is that there are multiple independent switchboards.
Exactly.
I assume you're also not saying that they talk to each other.
They don't need to, but you can also federate it. XMPP is a federated version, so you can have 100,000 people in a conversation, and that is supported today. Okay, so you can host it at home. I imagine Stanford will just host it. I mean, you have AP, access points, and then you just attach switchboards everywhere. And whenever I want a switchboard, I ask, where can I find a switchboard, and I get one. All right. And it, the model here is a little bit like, if I want to meet with people, I say, why don't you meet me at Starbucks over there or over that corner? Okay, I get to pick where this rendezvous point is, and it is scalable and it's decentralized, and anybody can host it because it is application independent. It's easily scalable. Another possibility is that the carrier provides one. You imagine going forward, a lot of these phones are out there sending messages and, video conferencing and all that ongoing, right? What does it mean for you to all send it to one application service provider and then hand it out? So what we're saying is that let's distribute it. The carrier may provide it because it may actually be better for them. And on top of that, they can say, I will provide you with an ad service, a local ad service. So as a third-party independent software developer, I don't have to provide a server. Now that's good. I mean, there are many people who can write these multi-party games that runs on the local devices. You just put it out there and you sign up to the carrier. It's like, if people use it, I will put a little bit of software on my little link on my software that will serve ads, and we split the revenue. Okay? Now, the person who is providing the software is independent of the person who is running that generic service, and you can have a different kind of an economic system. Yeah.
In terms of what's built into the scheme, either the sort of in terms of the activity of the activity director or the data-like declarative notions of it, do you have any sort of built-in ontological entities? Like you talk about a party. So two aspects of a party are the sponsor and the venue, as well as the participants. We've got the participants nailed here. And then there's the switchboard, which is infrastructure with respect to that, but there are potentially some bindings.
So the question is, do we build in the semantics of parties or into this? What we do is that we just provide the very minimal. Okay, so there's a switchboard. We have a script. We have a language. It's called the activity script, where we talk about roles. All right. In a party, you can talk about the host and the attendees. There are many other apps for which you will have different kinds of roles. We give you a way to describe the roles, and you can attach different kinds of code to each role. It's cross-platform. It could be HTML for web pages, and it could be on the Android. It will let you say, if it is an Android phone, download this software from this place. And if it is iPhone, blah, blah, blah. And so we give you this information. This information is in this. When you create a session, that information is hosted on the switchboard in the session. So when I get the ID, I go over there, and it will tell me how to download all the code, and it will also facilitate the communication. And now, with that as the basic, you can layer whatever semantics you want, and additional libraries that people can share at a higher level. That's the basic idea. So the interesting thing is that with this model, what we want to do is to enable a lot of codes to be written, and it is relatively easy, small number of days to turn it into create these applications. WeMeet shares profiles. WeTube is sharing videos. WePix is sharing pictures. WeBluff is a little bluff game that we have written on the phones. WeHold'em is a poker game. Snap2Pass, I will tell you in a minute. It is relatively easy to build this software. We have the library for the Android phone and the iPhone, and now you can also work across the platforms. And we also provide support, like how do you keep distributed data structures consistent so that you write very little code and the data structures get, they will keep each other up to date without the end users having to worry about the fact that it is not centralized. So that's what we've got. This is an interesting application of this technology. This is what we have built is this challenge response authentication system. So the motivation here is that passwords are very, very insecure. How many passwords do you have? Huh? And how many websites do you have? Oh, usually you keep a small number in your head and you use it for a lot of places. And it is horrible because if one place gets compromised, everything gets, and all the other accounts are compromised because people can't keep track of them. So there is a very basic security idea out there called challenge response. It's like you don't have to memorize the password. The challenge response is active, meaning that if you don't ever actually send in the password, the challenge response works by having a shared secret between the website and you. They give you a challenge. You have a crypto function, and it returns you a response to indicate that you are the holder of the secret. And this is a very secure way of logging in. But this is seldom used because people have to carry a hardware token and it's cumbersome and so forth. So what we did is that we used this scheme that I just told you and worked out a challenge response authentication so that, for example, Google can put out, instead of a login where you type in the username and a password, they just have a QR code embedding in it a challenge. You take a picture of it, you are logged in immediately. It is actually very, very fast, and it's very secure. And so that's the kind of thing we're able to we can enable with this kind of technology. So we're currently talking with the folks at VeriSign, which is now Symantec, about using this for logins in the real world out there. You can also use this for handling credit card payments. You know, a lot of times you go to a website that you don't know very well. You don't really want to give them the credit card. There's actually a solution. It's called one-time use credit card, but it is a pain in the ass to use. And so what we're saying here is that you carry a phone. We take care of it. You just take a picture, you pay, and it deals with all the fancy crypto stuff and just kind of like make it. You just simplify the flow, and we think that this is another very good use of this QR way of invoking applications. Yes.
What happens if you lose your phone or you get...
You disable it. First of all the data should be encrypted, and we really encourage that you protect your phone with password, biometrics, or whatever. And the nice thing about it is an active phone, and you can actually disable the phone from remotely. There's technology for it, and so you do have to protect your phone in general. So we do make it a little bit more important that you do it. But I think the trend is that we're going to have more and more important information on the phone. So this is the idea behind Junction. It is helping with physical social networking. All right. So, so that's topic number one. So let's talk about topic number two. Is that this data mining concept and what we can use this for? And we said one of the most important things is management of my friends. Okay, so that's the idea behind social topology. I'm going to go relatively fast over this because I want to get to this third topic. So the basic idea is, if you look at a lot of social networks, they really want you to have lots and lots of friends. And I think we were talking about, well, what's the definition of friends? I don't want to talk to those guys, but now if they invite me, I don't have a choice. I mean, it is really rude if I say no, and what am I going to do? And I don't want to manage them. But the truth is that we wear many hats. We have different profiles, and not all friends are equal. And there is almost nothing that I want to say to everybody at the same time. It's like if you look at the top 10 most frequently emailed people, it's my secretary, maybe my husband. It's like, what do I have to say to both of them ever? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. So we have many, many hats, and we want to say different things to different people. The problem when we talk about privacy, it's funny when I was discussing this work, it's like we care a lot about privacy, and people would say, well, there is security and privacy conferences. And I say, but those conferences are all about telling people how you avoid people stealing your secret. In Facebook, everybody is putting up their secrets, okay? There's no stealing. But the problem is that there is nothing that helps me to protect myself. So it's a totally different problem, and we have to start at an end, which helps the end users, the consumers, the 13-year-olds and stuff. It's a totally different problem, and it's a very important one. So how do you specify how many groups of friends? How do you talk about controlling access? More importantly, how do I say that these are for this people, and these are the people I want to listen to? It's not necessarily control of the information, but I want to be able to filter the information, because there's so much out there. Okay, so that's the problem. So what we are saying here is that you've got this cycle, right? As I interact on email, tag, photos, and so forth, everybody I interact with, everybody is my friend. All right, don't ask me who my friends are. You got them all. But it's just a matter of what kind of friends they are. Okay, it's not a long list. That's the important point. If I think about my friends, I mean, they're different groups. I mean, this is just a high level. Here are my friends, here are my family. Sometimes I'm closer friends with some of my family and colleagues and acquaintances and so forth. And it is not disjoint. Sometimes they overlap, and it is not just a group because I'm closer to my sisters, for example, than my brothers, and so forth, right? So you say different things to different people. It's very it's not a simple picture, but by looking at what I'm doing, you can infer all this. And once I get this information, can help me. It can suggest to me how I'm supposed to interact with them. So what we did is that we came up with a new algorithm. It is not the good old clustering algorithm, because the clustering algorithms tend to divide people into disjoint groups. That's not what we are interested in. So what we did is that we look at, for example, email, and we say, here is a message that is sent to these 3 people. Then these 3 people have something in common. They are something, I put them into a group whenever I send an email. And we do that for every single message. We put people into groups. We did a lot of work every email that you make. So why don't I just look at that and then give it back to you what the groups are, right? So we analyzed the co-occurrence in communication, the co-recipients of an email message, and we find the significant groups. It is really a summarization algorithm. I dropped the noise, all right? For example, I may have a group of 5, and a lot of times I send to like these 4 and those 4 and so forth, all right? But from the pattern, I can put them back together. I can create supersets that were not there in the original picture, or I can do intersections. And in the end, we find the nesting, we find the overlap, and we organize the information and give it to you so that you can now use it to control the access of your information easily. So we have the first thing we did, it is ongoing work, by the way. The first thing we did is that we take the data and put them into a hierarchy. So we say that, look, the top list is, I think, Thanket's research group, and there are sub-projects. And then the sub-projects may overlap, as you can see there, and they all belong to a bigger project. Sometimes I want to talk to the top group. Sometimes I talk to the second tier group, and so forth. So all this information, I can display it to you in a hierarchical form, and you can expand and contract as you wish. And we found that, of course, we know that, of course, that email is just one facet of your social life. It doesn't capture everything, so we have created an editor that allows you to take this group, add members, merge them, and so forth, to reflect what you want. You can give it a name if you want, but we found that a lot of times it is not necessary to give the names, and it is not that easy to give the names, because when you look at the group, you know why you are talking to that group. So to give you an example, I may have a group of 5 people, and then I may have a group of 4 with 1 person missing. And the only reason why I create a group of 4 is that maybe the 5th guy has no sense of humor. Right? I just don't want to tell this guy jokes because he's not going to appreciate it. Now, what group name would you like me to give it? But you know what it is. So that was the whole point. Just leave it as it is. In HCI, we talk a lot about roles, right? My role, and because of this role, I have this access and that access. Instead of defining what role you play in my social graph, I just say, here is the group, and the role is defined by the members of this group. I don't have to name it directly. And I think that that's the way to go, because we, in our actions, we implicitly name them, group them, and you just work it, use it, and give it back to me. Okay, so that's the idea, and this set of groups can grow, can be very large, you can summarize it, and it is, very dynamic in terms of how you want to manipulate it. So we did a little user study with it, and we found this algorithm we call the SocialFlows and the UI. It's significantly faster and more useful than, for example, the Gmail contact management list. Well, we did this experiment where we asked people to come up with some groups. It's like, it's your 25th birthday, create a list out of your names, and they were doing this. And instead we say, look, I just pre-populated a bunch of groups for you, can you work with this? And of course, and most people find that it's much easier to work with the groups that are already presented to them based on their past communication. And what was interesting to me was that we did the study with about 19 people, and in some cases, we showed them the Gmail first and then us, and sometimes it's just the other way around. And for the people who did it the other way around, 6 of them, they just said, I'm not going to do it. They started and they said, it is too much work, I'm just not going to do it. They just quit. I think this is like this is what happens to Stanford students. They don't necessarily follow directions. They just say, oh, I got the point, I'm done with this, I'm not going to do this, I can't handle it. And this is what we're trying to address, which is that, for example, Facebook allows you to create groups. It was inconvenient, and so a lot of people choose not to. And so you are losing privacy because it is not convenient. So this is our attempt to say, I mine the data, I feed it back to you, you find it useful, and then we just keep doing this. The information will get better as you work with it. So now onto the third topic, which is, all right, so we talk about something new from terms for the users. And yes, we are now mining the data. And so what do we mean by an open and federated system? All right. So what is an open and federated social networking system? It turns out that email, good old email, is a perfect example of an open and federated social system. And people really respect email. We read on the news that some Google employee was found reading somebody's email and the person was fired. It is their policy. And if you have to do that for other companies, you'll be firing a lot of people. Okay. But email, to some extent, companies understand that they have to protect. And another interesting thing about email is that I can host my email server if I want to. Okay, Stanford hosts an email server, and that means that if I want to keep the conversation within Stanford, I don't have to go with one of the major providers. Okay, so there's a combination of major providers out there, companies, groups have their own email, and individuals can put up their own email server, and that's an open and federated system. As long as I know your email address, I social network with you. Maybe you can argue how good it is, but I am social networking with you when I communicate with you, and I just know your email. I don't have to join Gmail just because you are using a Gmail account in order to communicate. So that's what we're going after. And I strongly believe going forward that this is the world we're going to have, is that the social networking has to be federated. If you think back to the AOL days, it's a closed environment, and that just can't compete with the open environment out there. And I think that it is kind of like anomaly, or just the starting phase when we have proprietary and closed systems. So what does it take to create an open and federated social networking, like giving you the features like Facebook? So you would have to guess. Who do you think are the players? You would have to guess that Google, Microsoft, Yahoo, those people would be part of this, would host some part of this data, right? What does it take for those companies to get together to say, yes, let's agree on how to host the data and interact with each other?
Fear of regulation.
Would that help? Would that work? Or fear of competition? Regulation, competition.
And on the other hand, fear of antitrust.
Fear of antitrust. Okay. Fear of Facebook. How long does it take for you? Okay, now they are fearful, suppose, and then they say, okay, let's build it. How long do you think it will take? A little bit long. If I look at...
How do they do it right?
Huh? How do you do it right?
How do they do it right?
Oh, that's an interesting question. How long do they have?
They live forever.
No, how long do they have before they can compete? If I look at how many people are on Facebook today? Oh, how many? Good. But how many members do they have? 500 million users. How many more doublings do they need before they take over the world? It depends on whether China opens up their members to Facebook. That's 1 billion over there. But they're not so far. But it is not that long, right? A good chunk of the world is on Facebook. So we don't have that much time. So what do? All right, we thought about it. We have an idea. Let me share this, and you tell me what you think. says, let's build, so the idea is that let's just build it on email. All right? You said that this is an open and federated system. There are over 1 billion accounts of email. Why don't we just build the social networking on top of email? All right? So what's wrong with email, though? I mean, email is on its way down, right? So June 2009, on average, an average American spends 4 hours social networking a month. Well, of course, this is average, right? Keep that in mind. It just means that a lot of people are not doing it. A lot of people are spending a lot of time, and it's 4 hours a month. Email is 3 hours a month in 2009. A year later, 4 went to 6, and 3 goes to 2. Okay, so people are leaving email, and as a matter of fact, if you ask college kids, they say, I don't do email. That's for work. we talk to each other on Facebook. Yes?
What's the difference between email and texting?
It's instantaneous or not. Is that what you mean? If I text you, it's instantaneous.
Is texting the same thing as sending an email? Is email the same thing as sending
No.
a short text?
No.
So,
Yeah.
so that might distort the statistics.
But the
a
social
little bit.
networking here is about social media and games. Regardless of what else you count, they are definitely going up. Okay, and so what we are saying here is that you have to support different modes of operation of communication with email than email. All right, what we're saying here is that just treat email as a database and build apps on top, just like all the other apps. All right. We talk about in situ social networking. It is not just to let them communicate. You have to create a programming platform so that the friends are in all the apps that you are doing directly. Okay, and so we say we have to have new modes of communication, look like social network applications, and just treat email as a programming platform, a distributed database, and you let people build on top of it. So that's why, you know, the idea here is that build on email as it is. I was asking the question, how long does it take for the companies to work together? I'm building on top of email. It's already there today, okay? I'm not waiting. I build on top of email. I will optimize later. Now, it's more pervasive. It is for a lot of consumers. I mean, everybody has a Facebook account, has an email account, because you can't get a Facebook account unless you have an email account. So there are a lot of email addresses out there already. The privacy is respected. It's got an open API. You have multiple personas, which is a good property. And we have a choice, and we have no single party owning the global social graph. All right? So that's why we are interested in using email. Let's talk about what it means. So let me give you a specific, just one tiny example. Foursquares. Everybody heard of Foursquare? And it allows you to check in and you see your friends and so forth. It has many, many functions, but one of the functions that I actually would like to use is that I want to share with my friends when I go to neat places. You know, I want to tell them about it. But you will never find me using Foursquare because I have no interest to participate as one of the millions of people that they track. You know, I kind of, it's like cattle. You know, you put a tag on people and then it's on the cattle, and then you follow them. I don't want to be one of these cattle, right? I will never use it, even though I like it. So what we have built is a tiny little application we call Mr. GPS. I mean, Mr. Privacy is our name for this open and federated email database system. Okay, so with Mr. GPS, it allows me to share my my addresses with my friends. The interface looks the same, right? But it is actually email underneath it. When I check in, I check in and I tell my 1,000 friends where I am. I'm sending 1,000 emails. And it goes into their email box. And they have the information. And then when they open that piece of software, I am on their list. And if they don't like me, they just delete me, okay? And they can whitelist me and they can say, oh, I'm only interested in 2 people. I don't really care about what other people are saying are sending to me. This is one of the very important things about for example, Facebook, the wall. It's not like email. In email, if I send you a message, and if I actually know you personally, and if you don't read that email, I will be very annoyed. Okay, that's not the contract. I mean, that's the contract. But in Facebook or these social networks, it's a totally different thing. I can say whatever I want, and if you read it, it's your problem. right? If I want to tell you, I woke up and I fell out of bed this morning, I can say that. I don't feel bad. I mean, if you want to read it, it's your problem. But that's important to free people to say whatever they want and let other people filter as long as they want. So what we're saying here is that we have to adopt this. We give people the same model. It's like, look, I can tell you where I am. If you don't want to look at it, don't. And I don't have an obligation to look at where you are, and you don't have and so forth. So we just have the same kind of social contracts, and it looks just like the other apps, but it's actually backed up by email, and I feel more comfortable using this. Yes.
If those emails are dispatched to certain groups that you define, how do you define those groups without implicitly naming them?
So the social topology that we created, actually I did mention we just recently, so we recently have made it possible for you to take that list and publish it in your Facebook group, as a Facebook group. Okay, so we are helping, we look at the data, we collect the data, and say, we propose you as a group, you accept it, you've got the list.
So it's just sort of like list 1, list 2? Is it,
well, you can name it. You can say, here are my research teammates, you can whatever, and you can name it if you want. And what we expect, what will happen is that we give you a very, we have a lot of information in there, but typically people would just pick out a few groups, maybe 5, and here it says friends, family, closest friends, colleagues, and then you just have a wall with them. It's very much like the groups they have today in Facebook, except that we can now help you propose those groups. And people usually, for social networking, they have just a few circles that they care about today. Or you can also say public, right? Okay. So now what it means is that I have a piece of software on my phone that allows me to talk to my friends. The social kit keeps track of my friends and gives me suggestions or completions of group names and so forth. And I just check in. And it is in the back end. So we built this app, and I can tell you that the first time I used it, I felt really good. I felt like I can now have fun without having the worries with it. Okay, it's no different from me sending an email and say, here is where I am. But I have a much better user interface. So here's what happens behind the scene. We actually send you a piece of email. If you are in the email, you can actually see where I am, and we invite you to download it onto your phone. And the most important piece of information is really actually this JSON object here that gives you the latitude and longitude information that my Mr. GPS client reads and displays on my phone. Okay, everything is very transparent. And we automatically put it into a subfolder for you, so you don't have to look at it. And if you want to, you can delete the whole thing. It doesn't matter. So that's the basic idea. So the important thing for us is a programming interface, not just, let you, we just build the platform and you put whatever you want on it. And we want the 1 million developers out there to build on top of it. And why would they come? Because it's an open and federated system. I don't take a tax. I don't have constraints. I am not collecting information in the meantime. Right? So we are now enabling rich social applications using email. We are changing the social contact. You don't have to, it's not email. All right, it's just a database. So I mentioned, like, if I want to tell 1,000 friends, I send 1,000 email. Is that inefficient? And as a matter of fact, we are okay thanks to spam. All right, 92% of emails out there are spam. If they can handle 92% garbage, they can handle whatever we are doing. All right, we might as well, this is much more interesting spam than the regular spam, right? And so how does it work? If I send mail to 1,000 people, the chances are there are probably 5 copies out there. One at Google, one at Yahoo, one at Microsoft, and one maybe at CS, Stanford, and one somewhere, because they do deduplication, right? A single message is only stored once. That's how they minimize the spam effect. And In other words, I'm taking advantage of the system that they have already to create a kind of not so efficient federated system. Okay, this is what you expect in the end, that my 1,000 messages are likely to be held about 3 places by these federated service provider. Yes.
Spam optimization for almost everybody is to throw things away. You're keeping them.
No. What I'm referring to is that when Google receives spam for 1 million accounts, there's only 1 copy of that message. You might be sending 1 million messages to, you are sending different messages for 1 million people, right? But they understand that it is the same message and they only save it and store it once. That's what I'm referring to as the spam optimization.
Modern spammers never send identical messages.
But we do. But we do.
You get optimized, they don't.
I want to get optimized. That's what I mean. I'm working with the system. I'm not against the system, and they should be happy. But my point here is that this is just the beginning. If we generate enough traffic, what I would expect that they will have a Mr. Privacy server, and they understand certain data structures like GPS, and they would just optimize the hell out of it, right? But today I can do it without them helping. And I'm not trying to go around them. I'm just trying to eliminate the lag time before something like this can be run as an experiment. I think I will get back to you in a minute.
I think one implicit meaning of becoming friends on social network existing today is that I got access to your history. I mean, in good and bad senses.
Yes.
How this can be done in this model?
Email has mailing lists. Okay? I can just treat my own personal history that I want to make public a mailing list, a record of information. And I can allow you to subscribe to my mailing list and look at the archive of data. So that's a PubSub model as opposed to a push-pull model, which I am talking about earlier. Thank you. That was another, these are the 2 important modes of communication. Yes, Carl?
Most ISPs these days do spam control at birth, i.e., they try to figure out which are the spammers. If you send 1,000 copies of the same message, many ISPs will label you a spammer.
Yes. Well, in my case, I won't send 1,000 messages. It's 1 message with 1,000 users' names. I don't know if that...
1,000 identical messages, and many ISPs will label you a spammer.
But it's it's 1 message with a group name.
Yes.
I mean, I could create a group, and then with the social topology, I get a group, and I say, tell my acquaintances that I am here. And it would just be a mailing list with 1,000 people.
That would also have to live in some place like Google.
Remember, I have given up. I believe for the consumers, we will have a small number of providers, and it is better to have a small number than 1.
Yes.
And you have question?
So looking up so basically you're using email point-to-point to substitute for a more effective multicast.
Yes, except that there are only a few major providers, and that becomes kind of federated multicast.
But the next thing up on email is notions of topics as mediated by the subject line, threads, those sorts of things, which individuals do use. That's email style.
Okay, so at this point, I would like to... thank you. I would like to show you an app. It probably answers a number of these questions. So let's hold the questions for now. I have to show you this app. So the Mr. GPS is 1 app. The second app we have built is social music sharing. And imagine that you have iTunes, you have Google Music, and they can tell your friends, as I play the music, I want to tell my friends what music I am playing. Okay? And I don't want to split them between the iTunes user and the Google users, all right? Because I will have users on both worlds. This is exactly the email problem. And using this mechanism, I can basically send email to all these people regardless of what music provider they have, and now can social network across music providers. If I don't have a system like this, then you'll probably have to go with something like a monolithic system like Facebook, where all the communication about music is in one place. And so this federation allows you to go across music providers, and I think that's also very important. Finally, the third one that I really want to talk about is this new app. It's called, we say, social browsing. We talked about how if I monitor your browsing activity, there's a lot of value in that history, and we want to take that away. And the way we did that is that we have added a application built on top of Mr. Privacy. We call this the social sidebar. It is an extension on the Firefox browser. That means that you can, you just, today it was an add-on on the browser. Tomorrow, hopefully, it will be distributed as part of the browser. And on the side is what the comments your friends are making along with the web page you are browsing. So here, I say, something about McDonald's food not decomposing. Oh, this is pretty cool. So I make a comment on the side, and I say I share it with my friends, and my friends like it, then they can comment on it, and then you can now have conversations about the things that you are doing, the pages you are browsing. And on the top, I can sort by recency. I mean, what are the new messages by person and by place. And when I go to a new page, it will show me all the comments that my friends have put on that page for me. Okay. Now I am doing in situ social browsing, and who is sitting in on this? I mean, who is listening to all this information? It's only the browser and the email. Okay. There's no third party intercepting anything in the meantime, and the browser is a good friend, because it is running on your machine. It's working on your behalf. So that's the architecture, is that this is Mr. Privacy. There's a social kit where your social topology is. It provides some access control to the applications. Now you can build mobile apps. You can build web pages that have communication or conversation on the side. And this is now all made possible by a common piece of software we call the Social Kit. We use that name as like WebKit versus Social Kit. Social Kit is just something that we want to have on all the mobile devices, and the browsers can build on top of it. And on top of that, there is a project by Mozilla called Contact that reads in your Facebook, your Twitter feeds. Now I can federate across proprietary and non-proprietary networks, and I will present the information to you. And if I say I want to share with 5 friends, 2 of them want to be here, 3 of them want to be there, then I send messages to both of them if I so choose. Okay? And this can be hidden from the end users. I mean, the differences. So let me summarize what we are talking about. We are very concerned about loss of data ownership, and in particular, and actually an easier question, which is also a hard one, important one, is the loss of competition. And what we do is that we build platforms so that the users can have more fun, developers can find it easy to use. And we have talked about 4 ideas here. The 3 is Partyware for ad hoc physical networks. Social topology is that we can now access my different friends, give them different information. Mr. Privacy is an open and federated platform. And I think the important thing is the social kit is the idea that all your friends can be accessed on your device through that same common piece of software that should be found on every platform. You don't go to one company over the web to get my friends. Come to me for my friends, and I collect all the information, all the activities done on that device in the social kit. And because this project involves a lot of interactions with companies, we are in the process of creating a lab. We want it to be supported by major players, companies in this space, email, browsers, mobile phones. So with the idea that we start with research, and hopefully the ideas can make it into products and to create an open standard. All right, I have 1 minute to spare. But we have a lot of conversations in the meantime, so maybe if I can take a question or 2.
Do you have specifications available online?
The interesting thing is that, well, there are 2 parts. Because these are email messages, we want you to have any JSON objects that you want to share between you and your other clients of the same app. So that part is open. We do have APIs about how you read and write data to this data structures. But we eventually, we believe that certain data structures will be standardized, like GPS locations, but there will always be new ones that developers need for their particular apps that they put on the phone, in their email messages. We are very early in the process. We have kind of like prototypes with the APIs, and we are discovering what we need to extend what would be good things to have in email protocols and stuff like that. So that's where we're in the process. And I encourage people to come to talk to us, because we need a lot of collaboration, both in terms of building the infrastructures, and also building on top of the infrastructures. Yes, Carl?
Seems like a terrific idea, but why would anybody like Facebook support it? Seems it would be against their business interest.
I agree.
Last reminder to
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.